Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. The agenda is approved by board members unanimously. Item number 4, consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Trustee Margolis.
Just a minor point on page 8 of the minutes from the last meeting. There's a typo on the 6th paragraph. It says we have a little touch times. I think they wanted to put tough times.
You're correct.
Yep.
Any other comments or corrections on the consent agenda?
Motion approved. Support.
There's been a motion to approve and support the consent agenda as modified. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? The consent agenda as modified has been approved. Item number 5, correspondence. I think we have a couple of letters here of correspondence today. Julie, if you'd continue.
One letter from Christina Struh and Marcia Green, the Novi Oaks Charter Chapter American Business Women's Association. Annually, the library is asked to make a donation of a basket. Usually we put gently used and new books, library materials, a library bag, and things like that into a bag so it can be used during their auction time. And this is a thank you for us supporting them.
Okay. Item number 6, we're fortunate to have 2 presentations tonight. The first is from Varsity Lincoln, Jennifer McCloskey.
We're so pleased to be here, and we were excited to help out and participate in what was called Drive Smart for Your Cause, and our donation is to the public library. We're donating to the Friends of the Library a total of $2,680.
Take as much time as you like to get your photos in.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Varsity Lincoln, for your efforts and this wonderful donation. Second of all, another presentation. This is from the Friends of the Novi Public Library. President Barnett.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. If I may, just before we do that, if I can give you just a brief report on our activities, I will. We have some of the members of the Friends Board here tonight that I'd like to introduce. We're wearing our vests that have the new logo on it and the new motto as part of our advocacy for the library. And we wanted to show them off to you tonight. And tonight we have with us our treasurer, Marilyn Amberger, and Jim McLean, who is probably one of our longest members, longest on the board the longest time, and Barbara Brunette, who helps put on the gala and the patio party each year, and the gift of reading to the children in Detroit, and Bob Cutler, who was our treasurer and at one point was on your board, so you recall that. So I'm glad they're here tonight for this presentation. Just to bring you up to date on the things that we've done since we saw you last is we had the gala on December 7th, and again our numbers are increasing. We had a number of around 100 people that came to the gala in the library and had a really great time. They expressed that themselves, and we could feel that as we attended the thing. Our numbers, by the way, are going up. We do have a person now that keeps pretty close track. We're very close to 300 families, 300 addresses, homesteads, and about 500 individuals. So we feel we've reached a very nice landmark with that. Last Sunday was a listen at the library that I'm sure Julie has told you about, but there were 110 people there. Very talented people come into the library and play this music for us free of charge. And we've been to some of their performances other places, and they can charge up to $30 for these performances. I think it's a wonderful bargain and a great event to celebrate in our library. At this point, we're very close to 2 new promotion pieces that we've been working on, some of them for probably more than a year. And we expect to have those done by the end of the year. Also, by the end of the year, we're hoping to have our winter issue of the newsletter out. So a couple of things are coming down the road. And we are also very close with Mr. Manna's help to activating our PayPal account. And that we hope will make it easier for people to join us and to pay their dues online. And it'll be easier bookkeeping for us as well. So we're going to try that out and see how it works. We had our board meeting last Wednesday evening, and the major item there, other than having your president there for our to give us his kind words and inspiring words, we passed a motion to reduce the surplus that we have in our bank account by $20,000 and present that to the library. You may recall last year we did that in 3 pieces. We did $10,000 directly for with no strings attached, and then 2 pieces that were part of our wish list, where we, with Julie, look at ideas together to enhance the library services and equipment. This year we decided to keep it as a one-time wish list, and that we checked it out, and it amounts to $20,000 that we're able to present to you tonight, with the ability to hold some in reserve in case we run into some hard times. So I'd like to pass that on to you and let you know that we have looked at a number of options with Julie about how we can spend that money. And there are three pieces of equipment that we agreed to support. One is a laminating machine, another is a portable sound system, and the third is an application that connects, that can go on to people's electronic devices, that connects them with the library so they can order books through the library or be aware of events and so forth, a 2-way communication system. We also looked at the possibility of giving bonuses to the staff, and we decided we wanted to spend more time thinking about that and perhaps wait until after your deliberations on the budget coming year. We're aware that you had awarded a bonus to the staff last year, and we will wait and see how that works out this coming year. So with that, I would like to ask Marilyn if she would present to you, Mark Stirring, and the rest of the board a check that combines the check that I received tonight from Varsity with the $20,000 that we have for you.
Thank you very much, and I'm impressed. You take that check from varsity music, which you just got seconds ago, and are able to turn it over to a library that quickly. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
I have nothing more to report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
22.7. It's at this point at the meeting that we have public comment, that if anybody from the public would like an opportunity to address this board with any issues or any comments, you're free to approach the front and speak to the board. I think there's no public comment tonight, so we'll move on. Item number 8, the President's Report, goal documentation for 2012, 2013. Julie?
You actually have two documents there. One is the goals so far overall, and then the December update. They're actually pretty much the same. I just wanted you to be aware that, you know, quarterly you asked for a full document and then the December update. So I'll start on page 19. A couple things that I want to make or draw your attention to. First, the first area where you see the red notation is the Gift for Today brochure. We updated that reflecting some of the new tax laws that have gone into effect and how that affects people making donations to the library. So that was updated in the last month. The second one is we offered programs during our Light Up the Night, which you all were aware that we took part with the city of Novi, and that turned out to be a very good program for us. Close to 500 in attendance, and an opportunity to partner with Walmart, the Behringer family, who also gave us a gift for our magician that presented that evening, and then an opportunity for the families of Novi to have such a great time. So that was a great event for us at the very end of November. We also were pointing out where we've started reaching out to some of our homeowners associations. As you can see, Crosswinds and Taft homeowners groups. Tours were given to Royal Crown and North Haven homeowners associations. So as they contact us, we are offering free meeting room space when a homeowners association calls us and wants to have a homeowners association meeting at the library. And in return of them asking for that room rental, we ask for about 10 to 15 minutes of their time, either for a tour or to give a library update. And that's how we offset then their rental costs for that evening for the meeting. So that's actually taking off really well, and then we'll continue to be reaching out to them as the strategic plan has indicated. On page 21, we added more scanning capabilities for the public. We actually added another scanner in our adaptive technology area, and that's just given more opportunities for patrons to be able to scan materials. On page 22, we recently were invited to the city of Novi. It was actually last Friday where many of the staff from the library attended an Indian cultural training session for an hour. So that gives us an opportunity to be aware of and learn more, since we have many residents from the Indian culture that are utilizing the library, and that was a great hour of training. Yes.
Is it East Indian or American Indian?
An East Indian. And then also still on page 22, the authorized users have been trained to use the OnBase for approval and reporting. So there is the OnBase software that we have been talking about now for a number of months and working with the city. That's all going now. What that does is it allows us to move information, particularly POs and those types of things throughout the system, throughout the city easily, and it's an approval system. The next part is there's another piece for HR, which we are in line to receive, but there's going to be some time involved. But that part has been instituted, and I just approved some vouchers today, so it's working well, and we're happy to be on board with the city with that particular software. On page 23, the budget planning is in progress and in process. Meeting with my department heads and starting to talk about what those needs are for 2013-14. And then we do have our dates already scheduled for February for our sessions. You will see them in the calendar at the back. I also noted them in the agenda as well in those special event times. And then again, a notation for our wonderful partnership with our friends and Varsity Lincoln, which raised $2,680, which does go towards the library app. And as Pat mentioned this evening, the Friends want to earmark some of the gift that they're giving this evening also for the library app. The app itself cost about $5,000, just over a little $5,000, so we have paid for those costs without it coming out of the library's budget by their gift and by the fundraiser done by Varsity Lincoln. And then page 24, our annual letter was sent out, and we are receiving some very generous donations from our community in response to the letter, as well as regular donors that have the library as a very important part of their annual giving process. So you will see those donations coming in throughout the end of the year. Page 25, as we noted and finalized at our last meeting, the strategic plan was approved. And on Monday night, I did attend the city council meeting and brought that to them, presented it to them. They had no questions. They were happy with the process, and so we are moving forward. And that's all I have. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for our director on our goals? If not, I'm going to move on to item number 9, which is the treasurer's report, and turn it over to trustee Margolis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everybody should have a printed copy in front of you, so I'll try and expedite the observations that I have. November was a typical 2 pay period month, so there were not that many unusual items there. The one thing which I thought was ironic was the fact that there were no gain or losses on the investments. I suspect that we'll have to play catch up in December and find out, hopefully with the market stabilizing, maybe we'll see a positive increase. But however, we did still experience another small decline in our property tax revenues. Overall, the month of November, we were below our normalized expenditures, spending below 8% of the annual budget. And when I say normalized expenditures, in my mind, we take the full $2,738,900 that we've committed for the year, divided evenly. It's about 8.33% a month. If you look on page 31 for the Library Fund 268 balance sheet, cash was decreased by $269,933.98, or a reduction of 6.91% during the month, which was reasonably expected. Current tax receivables were reduced by $2,956.99, or a reduction of 3.82%. And we recognize the $2,500 that we had been carrying as prepaid expenditures as it related to the speaker series that we had in October. As a result, total assets are $3,707,166,354.37. As a result, our net revenues and expenses for the current month decreased by $204,296.15, or a reduction of 14.25%, leaving an ending fund balance at the end of November of $3,541,408.01, down 5.45%. And as Mr. Stirring likes to note, things are in balance. The revenue and expenditures found on page 32 and 33. With respect to revenues, as I said, there was a small reduction in current property tax revenues of $3,251.73, which is only 0.14%. And there were no monthly gains or losses on the investment. Nothing else stands out other than the recognition of the library book fines, which generated $6,872.98 during the month. So our total revenues for the month of November were $7,636.67 for a year-to-date total of $2,356,042.55, which is 96.8% of the total annual budget. With 5 months of the current year under our belt, the standard utilization, that 8.33 times 5, is 41.67% benchmark. So when we drill down into the categories, keep that in mind. In personnel services, the total amount spent in the category of the month was $136,106.73, or 7.47% of the annual budget, well below the average monthly allocation of $152,000. On a 5-month year-to-date basis, we've used 37.90% of the category budget. At the end of November, personal services expended represented 29.3% of revenues compared to 31.18% budgeted. The category of material supplies only found a few items that were deviating from normal levels. One item was computer supplies, account 734.50, which had a negative 1743.62. I'm assuming that's some type of reclassification, either that or a return of some kind?
Usually it is, and I will double check for you.
Okay. We spent in operating supplies, account 740, $8,292.29, and periodicals is a timing thing, but we spent $12,791.01. For the total month, we spent $45,091.38 in this category. That's 9.29% of the budget for a year-to-date total of $45.08. Again, in comparison to 8.33 normalized and 41.67% benchmark. So it's a little bit higher so far than the normal pace. And it represents 9.29% of revenues compared to the 8.31% we budgeted. In services and charges, we spent $30,734.71. That happens to be the second lowest monthly total so far this year and is only 7.37% of this category's budget. And on a year-to-date basis is 48.56%, with a couple items that are listed there for you. There were no capital outlays or contingencies, so when you add up all the categories together, total expenditures for the month, we spent $211,932.82, or 7.74% of the budget, yet below the equal gauge, monthly gauge of $228,242 that we have. For 5 months so far this fiscal year, we've spent 41.14% of the budget, which is pretty much right on the 41.67% target. This amount is 47.83% of revenues and is more than the fiscal year budget expectations of 46.89%. If you go to page 34, the Walker Fund, number 269, we had total revenues for the month of $45. This was just collection of donations, bringing our year-to-date revenues of $3,985.95. Expenditures, however, were $200.93, or up 2.61%, the bulk of which was for the Light Up the Night, $134.95, and another $65.88 in the category 742.800, the engraving, trees, and brick pavers. When you subtract the $45 from the $200 spent, we have net expenditures over revenues for the month of a minus $155.93, or 3.84% during the month, for a net year-to-date deficit balance in Fund 269 of $3,904.71. Looking at the balance sheet, we have a decrease in cash of $1,096.26, or 0.07% during the month, and an accounts payable liability decrease of $940.33. The difference is that $155.93. Our total Walker assets are $1,531,119.80 as of November 30th. Liabilities a whopping $9.20, leaving a fund balance of $1,531,110.60, which breaks down between restricted use $90,251.09 and unrestricted of $1,440,859.51. On page 35, you have a listing of the investments, the combined investments. Fund 268 has $3,632,985. Fund 269 has $1,531,120. Combined together, $5,164,105. During the month of November, the library funded investments decreased by $269,933, or a reduction of 6.91%, while the Walker funds went down $3,272,000, or a reduction of 0.21%. If we combine the balance sheets of both funds together, we show total combined fund balance $3,541,008 in 268 and $1,531,110.60 in Fund 269 for a combined total of $5,072,518.61. This reflects a net reduction in combined fund balances of minus 204,452.08, or a reduction of 3.87% during the month. Now, if you say to yourself, wait a minute, why do we have two different sets of figures? It's because of the few payables and receivables that we have, that the fund balance themselves are close but not identical. We also received the report from the Library Cafe during the month. A copy of the checks are in front of you. For the month of November, the gross sales were just under $5,000, so 10% share of the library is $478.64.
Thank you, Trustee Margolis. Any questions for our treasurer in regard to his report?
Not a question, but just a comment that I want to bring you all, bring your attention to. If you look at page, it would be 33 in our packet, which is page 3 of 5 of the report that comes from the city. I just want to point out a couple things. If you look at account 740.200, which is desk chairs, file cabinets, and then you look at 741, which is uniforms, those numbers have been transposed. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. That $300 should actually be in the uniform account, which is what we sent and budgeted, but there's been a mistake over at the city. And the same thing for account 742.1 and 742.66. That $500 should be in the library book fines account. So I'm working with the finance department just to make those couple clarifications. Back a couple months ago, they were right on target, so I don't know what happened in some of their funding, but they've had some numbers that were mixed up. And still, accounts 942 and 942.1 have not been changed, even though the board has approved for that change from the budget. So I just want to make sure that you're all aware of that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the treasurer's report? Trustee Margolis.
When those corrections are reflected in the statements that are presented, we'll report them as such. But right now, I'm like an umpire, I just call them as I see them.
Right, exactly. Just in case, though, if you were comparing to our actual budget sheet and this, you would see that discrepancy. So I just wanted you to be aware.
Trustee Berman.
Thank you. I just want to see that we have been receiving this donation, but our priority should be giving to our staff. And I know the finance committee will be looking into this. And I request that that money should be kept so that when the finance committee approves that whatever to be given, that this money should be used off from that. But I'm looking to the priorities. Priorities are different, and the third priority is staff. To me, is giving the money to the staff is the first priority. So I request the board that we should keep that money for that whenever the time comes, whenever the board decides that money should be used for the staff, whatever the bonus or whatever we decide.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Or? Okay. Item number 10, Director's Report. Julie, it's you again.
Yes, just a few things since our meeting was so, at the end of November and so close to this one. I wanted to point out the photo. We did have a professional photo done with our new fleece vests that were given to us as a gift from the Friends of the Novi Library, and we used that in our December e-newsletter. We'll also be able to use it for future marketing. The new vests have our new motto on it, which is inform, inspire, include. If you notice, I use that a lot now, and I'm trying to push that. So if we can remember 3 words, those would be the new 3 words to have in associated with NPL. As I reported in my information here this evening, we had 2 fundraising events this past fall. The On the Road, which I gave you the figures of $1,737, that was collected for fundraising for those 2 events, as well as the $2,680 this evening that we received by Varsity Lincoln. So some very good fundraising events and opportunities that we took advantage of and tried for the first time. with the library. I would like to give a huge thank you to Margie Karp-Operer. I know Margie's not here this evening, but she really did spearhead, with the help of Kathy Crawford, one of our community members and our commissioner for Oakland County, the On the Road opportunity, which were fantastic road trips that people took in association with the library. They went up to Lansing for a full day, and then the other excursion was to the DIA. And we've gotten really good response from the people who attended. So again, Margie, and then also my administrative staff who took on a lot of the phone calls and a lot of the behind the scenes, which is Diana and Marcia Dominic. Actually, I'm going to skip down to the 2012 MLA conference first, and then we'll come back up. Just want to thank you all as a board for the support that you gave me over the past year to work with the Michigan Library Association and to be a part of their conference planning. It went well, and I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to sometimes step away from the library and be a part of our state organization. So thank you again. We are, as part of, strategic planning and making ourselves more available and trying to reach out for more partnerships, I actually had a meeting with the philanthropy director at Fox Run, and we're looking at doing some author series in association with Fox Run and the library. So more information to come on that, but I wanted you to be aware of something new that actually comes from strategic planning that we're trying to reach out to our older adults community. Also, I've been in the throes of state aid reporting and DSLRT reports. I think you all received a copy of the DSLRT report. That's the Detroit Suburban Library Roundtable. So that's a number of libraries locally that will give you comparisons of how we are doing in comparison to other libraries locally. I'm happy to report to you that I pushed the send button today, and the state aid has been sent to the Library of Michigan. And in the 5 years I've been here, this is the earliest we've turned it in, so hopefully we'll see our check earlier too. But that also has been submitted for the year. And then we'll start to work on our budgets for the 2013-14 year, working with Nevris Nazarko, who is our new Director of Finance here at the City of Novi. In fact, I'm going to try and schedule for Nevris to be at our January meeting so you all can meet him. That way you'll have a good association with him as we go into budget time, and then I do have a meeting scheduled with him just to get the normal numbers that they provide for our budget process. So looking forward to that in the next couple weeks. And that's all I have on my end. Public Services Report, as you can see, which was reported by Margie, we've had lots of wonderful programs that have been presented to the community over the last month. Obviously, Light Up the Night and the Community Reads were two of our biggest that she was reporting on. And then under the Building Operations Report, we're proud to say that Bill Bebenek and Keith Perfect, two of our facilities people, are now certified with the CERT team through the City of Novi. And that's great for us to have those two people involved and have a better awareness safety-wise when it comes to the City of Novi. So that's two of our staff people that have taken part. And that's all I have. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Trustee Margolis.
Yeah, I apologize for faulty memory here, but several months back, we embarked on a benchmarking initiative where it was going to be over several months or whatever. What kind of progress have we made towards
In terms of benchmarking for other libraries?
it was that Mary Ellen was spearheading the program. It was some
for
certification.
QSAC,
Yes.
or QSAC.
Quality.
Yes, the
program,
Quality
yes.
Services Access, yes, through the state. We're almost there. In fact, we just purchased, we needed to get some information on our lighting. So, and we also reached out, we had to have a plan in place for disaster planning when it came to collections and the building, if heaven forbid something happened with a flood or sprinkler system go out or we have a fire. We're almost there, and we'll be ready to be turning that into the state fairly quickly. In the next couple months, she's almost done. Thank you for asking.
Any other questions? Do you want to do the usage?
Yes. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about for a few minutes, and we don't have to make approval tonight. I'm not necessarily looking for it, but I do want to have a discussion. I provided some information to you tonight because we would like the staff, and I'm looking for some support from the library board, to make the library card the most important card in your wallet. And I know some people might think that's not, because their Visa might be more important to them, or their driver's license, but we now are doing so much when it comes to independent service, where the library card has become so much more important to people when they come in the building, that we'd actually like to do an initiative that takes 6 months to get our patrons aware of the need for the card when they come into the building. And we have two options for people. They could actually have a physical library card, and we also give out a key fob, key tag that goes on keys. So we're trying to give them a number of options to have the card on them at all times. If they're databases, you need a library card. You need a library card to access the computers, or you have to purchase a guest card, which that'll go down. And which money is not the issue. It's more having it and having the card in hand so that we can give the best service. But checkout is the major.
So checkout's the big one that you're saying. And
Absolutely.
So you wouldn't allow, what you're saying is you wouldn't allow a patron to come in if they were to forget their library card to use their.
We'd allow them to come in, but we wouldn't allow them to check out unless
Right,
they
you
had the
would
card.
all right.
Yes. Yeah. But again, the reason for asking for it is to cut down on those lines. There's an amount of time, if you're on the welcome desk, you've probably already seen it. There's an amount of time then that the staff looks up the card, takes that extra time then, and lines can occur by doing that. There's also an opportunity for people to make sure that it's them linked to the card. We've had a number of cases where people will say, I didn't check out those items, those aren't mine, I don't know what happened. By going to this and making sure that they're checking out the items and requiring the card, we can pretty much stop that as well if there's any issue with theft or anything. So that's another opportunity. I gave you a number of options that I know the staff is seeing that, and it's generated from the staff because obviously that's what we're seeing, but I do think it'll benefit the patron. And I think, like I said, if we give them the time, I've had a very positive response to any changes that we've made if we give the patrons a good amount of time to get ready for the change. We instituted increasing our fines. We gave the patrons, a good 6 months in advance to let them know that that was happening. I can tell you that I have not received any complaints. When we went ahead with the renewal of our library card and having to pay off fines when you're renewing your card, again, gave a 6-month notice to our patrons, let them know what's happening. No real response, no real backlash, I should say, from that. So I think it's a positive thing for us to do this, and I do think it'll help the patron as well.
Remind me, Julie.
Yes.
Right now, if someone forgets their library card, but they go to the front desk and they have their driver's license, they could check something out.
We are looking them up and checking it out,
And
yes.
as I read in this little blurb, is that your thought is that you wouldn't charge for replacement cards?
Correct, we would not. We really want to push the card. It's really about having the card and making it important.
Have we thought about what will probably happen when someone comes without a library card, but they have their driver's license, and if we would implement this policy, we would say, you can't do it without your card, they don't have their card, they have conveniently lost their card, and you would have to issue a new card.
We'd be giving them a new card, absolutely. So we'd make it easy for that. If they lost a card or can't find it, we'd be making it easy for them. That's great, tonight we're gonna get you a new card, and then you'll be good to go. Please remember your card when you come into the library. We would also, and we've talked about this, if we institute this and give 6 months for us to share the information and make patrons aware of it, we would also we thought we'd give the month of July when we actually start the process, that if someone forgot it for the first time, we'd go ahead and give them that one-time reminder. We'd add a note, let them know, coming in August when you come back, we're giving you a freebie, but we want to let you know that we're instituting this. So we're going to try to work with them.
Just kind of a follow-up, and this is, I'm trying to
Sure.
run this through my head. Will we, save time by insisting on using the card, but because we won't have to look up people with driver's licenses without cards, but at the same time, we may have a lot more people asking for new cards, and I'm trying to go, will that save time or not save time?
We might have that, but you're only gonna have it once and then they have the card, you know, so if we can get everybody a card, hopefully then we'll get through that over time. It's really, I think people have lost their cards, and instead of saying they've lost a card and they don't wanna pay the $1, they're using their driver's license. So if I can just get a card in their hand, we're getting rid of that situation altogether.
There were some other questions.
Yes,
Trustee Kilgore.
Just a couple of questions.
sure.
How many transactions a day would you say that this is happening? Would be question number one. And then question number two is it the same people over and over?
I can't give you numbers. I know that it's so often that that's why it's come up to make it a more important part. But I don't have exact, because we don't write it down. You know, I mean, there's no way to track it. I mean, unless we physically, I guess we could, you know, for one whole month, we could track people not having their cards and seeing what that means in terms of transactions and number of people in. We could do that ahead of time if you wanted those types of figures before making a decision. And then what was your second question? I'm sorry, Trustee Kilgore.
Is it the same folks over and over?
Well, I mean, you know, people who, that's how policies are made. Some of those policies can be made by people who, you know, don't want to follow the normal realm of what our procedures are. So there are people that are the everyday, but not necessarily. I don't want to say that we're going to create this just for people who are not diligent about having the card, but I just think overall, you know, we have patrons who bring it in every day and they're moving right along, and then they're waiting in line because someone isn't bringing in their card. So then the patron who does have a card with them all the time is then waiting in a line that they don't necessarily have to wait in if other patrons would bring their card with them. I think there's two sides to that.
I fully endorse the plan, and I support it. I have three separate thoughts that I'd like to share. Number one, from a marketing perspective, I think visual aids in the library lobby area, visual reminders of people of how important the passport is, you know, the card. So we probably should spend some money in marketing and promoting
Yes, this card,
the change, yes.
Okay.
Number two, I believe that you want to encourage positive behavior, that maybe you have a monthly random draw for card members, and they get some type of special benefit, whether it's an express line
Sure.
or something, but an ongoing program to just positively reinforce what you're trying to do.
The library card, absolutely.
And then the third thing is maybe in preparation for our budget conversations, we talk about a third element that we may or may not be ready for, but, and I'm the worst person to even be discussing this, but everybody seems to be carrying smartphones nowadays that have the barcodes or whatever captured on the phone. Is there a way to capture the information on the library card on their phone so that they can communicate if they don't physically have the card, but they have it captured on their device? Is that something that we could invest technologically to accommodate them?
It's a wonderful question, and I can tell you that we are investigating that already. In fact, I hope to have some information by the first of the year from our IT department about it. Because even before us talking about library cards and making this campaign and initiative go, we already have had patrons who already have it, you know, because there's a barcode app, and you can already, you know, put your barcodes in and then have them in your phone. So we have already had patrons approaching us wanting to use it in that way. So we are looking at it.
But my suggestion was that we do a carve-out from our fund balance to be able to accommodate that, and that may be buying some hardware or some other accommodation.
Absolutely, thank you.
I think it's worth pursuing.
I do too, thank you so much.
Trustee Teasdale.
Well, since Trustee Margolis stole my question there, I'm gonna piggyback on something he said. He
See, you're
mentioned,
all thinking library, I like this.
he did mention marketing too, and what I was thinking is just quick suggestion, maybe an
Yes.
idea is, premier parking spot for that 1 month thing. And be pretty easy to
Patrons
enforce.
would love that, especially with the winter months coming.
Right, so just a thought.
Thank you.
Trustee Verma.
Thank you. I have one incident when I was the greeter there, one of the Indian guy came, and he insisted that he has to return the books. And again, he has been asked that the library has not received that. And later on, I realized why the problem was. Actually, after half an hour or so, they were looking into, and the person was saying, no, sir, you must look into your car, you must look into your home, you must do this, you must do that. Then after half an hour, he came back and he said, oh, we found out in our shelf inside. The book was returned. Then I realized later on, because the book was from a regional language from India, and which has the head, in the heading also is written not in English. By the time that person must have returned, and the staff member may not know what this book is, she must have kept it on the shelf or something happened. Now, the point is, we insist that if you don't return, you pay this much money or whatever. Now the book was found in our shelf, and we said simply, oh, I'm sorry it happened. I think we should give some sort of incentive to them. Oh, this was our mistake, we will do this sort of thing. Maybe special parking for 1 month or whatever. Some incentive should be given to make them understand, if we are asking you to pay, but we are giving them also, we should institute that type of thing.
I will look into it. I know that in most instances, when we do have someone who brings in material, who claims that they've returned something, most of the time it is still in their possession somewhere. But there are those rare occasions where we might find something and it missed the check-in. It's not 100% our system. Technology just isn't, and things can go missed. I mean, sometimes even on our automatic return, if people aren't actually putting, and the automated voice outside says, please put items in one at a time, and it also says that on the outside of the return, patrons will put more than one in there. Sometimes they can be missed. It happens. But in most instances, if we found it and it's our mistake, we do tell them, and we do apologize and make sure that we can correct it.
Apologies is not good, because when we are asking them to pay, it will be one in 100.
Right.
The point is, this guy was insisting. I couldn't speak because I was the greeter, and especially I was Indian. I didn't want to get into this sort of thing, but I was looking into this. But the point I'm saying is, since we are going to do some marketing, we are doing this sort of thing, we should say that if this is our mistake, we will do this thing.
Great. No, I'll be happy to look into it.
Yes, please.
Yep.
Trustee Verma.
Just one last thing I wanted to ask. So once this were to be implemented.
Yes.
And you have a patron who's a regular patron that shows up with their card, shows up at the desk to check out books, and for some reason couldn't find a library card, would you turn them away?
We would be after the initial 6 months and a warning, yes. We would hold the books, which we can do. We'll tell patrons, we can hold it if you can come back with your card. We're going to push to definitely make sure that library card is in hand so we can have it.
So it's going to be a policy that's strictly enforced?
Yeah.
All right.
And that's why we want to give a lot of time to educating and getting the word out to the patrons first. We don't want to just make this, February, because we want a lot of time for them to see notices, and when they check out, if they're checking out at the self-check, we want to make sure a notice is there, depending on how they use the library. Our e-newsletter only reaches so many. Our Engage will be able to put it in for the summer, so again, that reaches a whole different reading level. We'll continue to be promoting this. One of the suggestions, which you brought up this evening, but also came from staff, is to have something that right as they walk in the door, please have your library card available. We ask that your library card be used, or, something to that effect, so that they know the library card is going to be needed when making any transaction with the library.
Julie?
Yes.
Excuse me. Is there a limit on how many replacement cards you can get?
At this time, we haven't talked about a limit. I'd like to just try it and see, and if we find that, people every month are getting a card, well, then I guess we'll have to relook at it. But I'd like to give patrons the opportunity to get a card if they need it and get them started.
So if they come in and they look and check something out and they don't have the card, they'll say,
Well,
my card is, and
right.
then they can.
We'll issue them one, and then we can make note that we issued a card, so that way we have a tracking system as well. And say, well, we've issued you 3 cards, we really need you to keep track of it, or, yeah. I'm hoping because of the 2 options, the actual wallet piece plus the key tag, and we actually reissue the key tags a lot, because after time, if they get used and they rub against each other with other key tags, you might need a new one. We do that already if it looks pretty bad, or we can't actually read the barcode anymore off of it. We'll replace those at no cost, because that's just keeping it fresh for the patron. Okay.
Any other questions? Are you asking us to vote on this tonight? It's kind of a generic discussion. Are you thinking you'll come back here with some specifics? We're going to do this, plus maybe some incentives, some of the other things that we talked about?
If you'd like to see more information for us as to how to implement, I'll be happy to do that. Please do. Okay, great. We'll bring it back for January.
The pleasure of the board is to see something with a little bit more detail, but
Right.
consistent with that thought in mind.
Sure.
And Trustee Kilgore.
I think we should have a written policy for implementation.
Okay.
We can work on that as well. Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Julie, you want to talk about usage statistics?
Oh, sure, sorry.
That's
If
all
you look at page 40, to date, our usage, we issued 338 cards this past month in November. We had 62,499 items checked out, 3,876 items borrowed, and 4,839 items that were loaned out. And that's all through our TLN system, so we're obviously very busy with materials coming and going from the building for our patrons, and then also for our patrons of the TLN system. If you look at self-checkout, we're staying at a very consistent 58%. It was 58.69 this past month. Circulation to date, so with 5 months in, we have 350,484 items that have circulated out of the building. And if you look then at page 42, this is our usage so far. To date, we've had 167,801 visitors. It's averaging 1,190 people per day. This for November specifically, 32,454 patrons visited the building. We also, with our workstations, these are hours, monthly sessions, and minutes. And the biggest compliment and comment that I get from patrons that walk in the doors, they cannot believe when they drive by, how full our libraries are, when they drive in, how full that parking lot is. And we did add more. I have to always tell the patrons that we did add more parking spaces, but they're always just full. So it's a good thing that our library is as busy as it is.
Very good. There's no further questions. We've already have the Friends of the Novi Library report, so I'm going to move on to the Student Representative report.
So for the past few months, we've been talking about the teen space. And in November, it's been gaining more popularity, and we've averaged out to 23 kids a day. And our partner, the Novi Youth Assistance, donated $200 for new furniture and games. So, yeah.
And that new equipment will be coming the end of January, when the kids come back from after their midterms. Yes, thank you. So we hope to unveil the new items and furniture. It would be the Thursday, January 30th, I believe it is, in the afternoon, and we'll make sure that we take advantage of the Patch and Novi News, and then also recognize Youth Assistance again for their donation.
And in terms of programming, last month we held a Super Smash Brothers video game tournament on Election Day. That number of 8 participants is really low in terms of our history. So we are trying to bring that back again, I think over spring break. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And then we had a WOW College Scholarship Essay Writing Contest, and that saw about 15 attendees, so that was well attended. And then last month, we had a total of 21 teen volunteers to help us with our various projects. So thank you for all that, and have a happy holidays as well.
Thank you both. Any questions for our student representatives report? If not, a historical commission report. Julie?
Yes, it is in your packet. The one thing I want to draw your attention to is under Pavilion Shores Park signage. The Historical Commission has been asked to work with Jason Magnum, who is the Director of Parks and Rec and Cultural Resources. I think I said that right. Parks and Recreation and Cultural Services. They're continuing to seek guidance of the commission concerning display signs for the new Pavilion Shores Park on the south side of Walled Lake. So that is one of the projects that they're currently involved in. And they did approve for some new equipment to come into the local history room, an upgraded computer. And that was all by the help of the commission in terms of the money to support those purchases. That's all I have.
Thank you. Committee reports. No committee reports? Okay. Before we go to public comment, I just wanted to note towards the end of our packet where we have this excerpt from the board and administrator for board members. There's some really good articles in here today that I know that all the board members have read this already, but I would encourage you to reread this, that there's a lot of things that we as board members can do to help our library, to help our administration, help our staff, so that I think this one's, they're always good, but this one's a little better than normal. So I encourage everybody to reread that.
Thank you.
This is the point where we're also having an additional, a public comment for the members of the audience. This is an additional chance for you to address the board with any comments or concerns that you have. If there's any members of the public, please move to the front. If not, I see nobody. There is no public comment at this session. We're going to move on. We have already discussed the matters for the board action, so we don't have anything there. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Unanimously approved to adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you.